What's good, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm going to do a breakdown of Shakur Stevenson against Oscar Valdez. The fight's going to go down next weekend, April 30th, next Saturday. It's going to be on ESPN. And this is going to be a unification match at junior lightweight at 130. Shakur is going to be defending his WBO title, which he won in his last fight against Jamel Herring. And Oscar Valdez is going to be defending his WBC title at 130 that he won, I believe, 2 fights ago against Miguel Berchelt. All right. So this is a unification match, and in my opinion, this determines who's the best in the division. You know, I know this is not an undisputed fight, but these two are clearly the number 1 and number 2 guys at 130, wherever way you want to rank them. Oscar Valdez, old in age, 31 years old, more experience, has 30 professional fights, 23 knockouts, no losses. You got Shakur Stevenson, who's 24 of age, 17 fights, 9 knockouts, undefeated as well. I would give the edge in experience to Oscar Valdez based on who he's fought. He's fought guys like Adam Lopez, Chris Avalos. Who else did he fight? He fought Scott Quigg. He fought Robson Conceição in his last fight. He fought and knocked out. He also fought Miguel Mariago, and he beat Miguel Berchelt on a knockout of the year type of knockout when he was a super underdog in that fight, which was last year. That's his best win to date. All right, and then you got Shakur Stevenson that has who's a 2-division champ as well. Both are 2-division. They both came up from 126 to go 130, and they both won titles in the divisions before moving up. So they're both 2-division champs. Shakur Stevenson got wins against Joet Gonzalez, Chris Diaz. You have Jamel Herring, which was his biggest test to date. So clearly, like, you know, I could keep throwing names out there, but those are the names that kind of stand out on Shakur Stevenson's. You know, we know he beat Nakatalia 2 fights ago, who recently beat Miguel Berchelt. But yeah, I can keep throwing names out there, but clearly, Oscar Valdez, you know, got more names because he's been around longer, he's older and stuff, right? But he's still in his prime, currently in his prime. He's been with Eddie Reynoso, who's the trainer of Canelo Alvarez. I believe at least his last 2 or 3 fights. And, you know, I think he's definitely improved since he's been with that camp. All right, so let's get down to it. So I didn't do much film study because, you know, again, I know these fighters well. I've covered them both for a long time. Shakur Stevenson is actually my personal favorite younger fighter. Okay, I think he's a future pound-for-pound fighter, and he can possibly be, I think he's in the lead out of all of the younger fighters, you know, all the guys that's like 25 and younger. You know, he's definitely my personal favorite to watch. So I'm looking forward to seeing how his career is going to go. This is obviously a big test for him. Jamel Herring was a big test, but I think this is even a bigger test because Oscar Valdez has been more successful than Jamel Herring. And I think style-wise, too, is a bigger test for Shakur. I think Shakur proved himself against Jamel Herring, but, you know, there's still levels, and I think Oscar Valdez is the biggest test in his career so far. All right, but before this fight, I did a little film study. I think if you want to do film study, because we have time, we still got Fury and Dillian this week. So if you have time, if you want to see what these fighters can do and who are some of the fighters that I think you can compare the both of these, you know, as far as like past opponents, I would go to Shakur Stevenson against Chris Diaz. That's a fight that I went back and watched a little bit today. I went back and watched a little Shakur against Joet Gonzalez. Specifically because I think Joet shows what the fight will be like if Oscar Valdez starts to put pressure on Shakur Stevenson, which I expect him to do at some point in this fight. I think after a few rounds, I think Oscar Valdez is going to step up the pace like he did against Conceição in his last fight and make it more of an inside fight. And Joet Gonzalez fight is going to show a lot of that and how that fight would play out, you know. So if you want to see Shakur fight a guy on the inside, you can see that. You want to see a guy that's to staying in front of Shakur and following him and staying on his heels. Not as much pressure, but a technical fight. You should watch the Chris Diaz fight or a Nakatalia fight. I wouldn't go into the Jamel Herring fight because this fight would not play out like that. Jamel Herring's tall, rangy, southpaw, totally different style from Oscar Valdez. Valdez, on the other hand, he hasn't fought a southpaw in years, a long time, against Ruben Tamayo, and he's basically a journeyman. Nowhere near on the level of Shakur Stevenson. But I did go back and check it out, and the moment I started watching the fight, being that it was 7 years ago, I just realized how much better Oscar improved, and he clearly won that fight. It wasn't much of a struggle for him in that fight, but you can tell that Valdez improved since that fight. Like the moment you put a fight on and you watch another fight of Valdez, and you put a fight that's older, you can see the difference in the way that he fought back then and the way he fights now. But he doesn't have many southpaws. He does have a few before that fight, but the one I checked out was Ruben Tamayo. That is available. I believe it is on YouTube, and I got a chance to look at some of that where he boxed pretty well. I mean, he got a good understanding of how to fight a southpaw. I didn't really see much of a struggle there. And I also watched the Robson Conceição fight, which is most recent fight, because Robson Conceição, very slick fighter, Olympic gold medalist, all right? Taller, rangier. Even though he's an orthodox fighter, not a southpaw, he was a good defender, all right? And was able to, at least in the first half of that fight, he was able to kind of neutralize Oscar Valdez, and he was winning on points, in my opinion. I think it was a very close fight. As watching it again, I think Conceição kind of edged it. I think it could have been a draw. I gave Valdez 5 rounds, but there were a couple swing rounds in there too. So I know a lot of people said that Conceição got robbed. I thought the fight was close. I gave it to Conceição, but I think the fight was really, really close. I'm not mad at the decision, right? Especially because it's in his whole time. He is a champion. It is what it is. No surprise there. So going into this fight, Shakur clearly height and reach advantage. Bigger guy, can definitely fight at 135. Very slick. Slick is not even a word. This kid, defensive wizard, fights very mature, very experienced. You would not think that kid is 24 years old. I like to compare him into Money May, not Pretty Boy Floyd. I always say that he skipped that whole phase of becoming like a sort of an attacker and a KO artist. He's a defensive fighter. And yes, he has some stoppages. He did stop Jamel Herring, but he's a smart fighter, a very smart, cautious fighter, defensive. He lets his hands go, but he's not a big puncher. And I think that's the one thing about him, that he's not a KO artist. He can grow into it though. All right, because he's only 24 years old. He's still growing into his man body, you know what I'm saying? So I'm sure he's going to grow over the years. By the time he's 30 years old, he's probably going to be exactly where he's going to be at weight. He'd probably be, if not a junior welterweight, he could possibly be into his career as a welterweight. You know what I'm saying? But defensive wizard, all right, knows how to control the distance better than almost anybody I've seen out there. All right, knows how to control the distance, has great reflexes, cat-like reflexes, right? Moves his feet very quickly, very well, and knows he keep his hands up. There's very few times where he makes very few mistakes, and that's the thing with this fight. And me watching the film study, I'm more watching Shakur because I'm trying to see how we can crack that puzzle, and yes, I'm leaning towards Shakur Stevenson. Don't get it twisted. I'm a fan of him, big fan of him, and I think he's one of the best fighters out there, as far as the eye test. But I'm going to do this breakdown, and I'm looking for ways that he can get caught. How do you crack his puzzle? How do you get through that guard? Mainly, he moves so well, and he has the reflexes. Even if you can throw the punch through the guard, you gotta worry about him moving his head. You know, he's so quick and rolling his shoulders. All right. He see the punches going. It's like it's going in slow mo when it's getting thrown at him. You know, whatever you're throwing at him, he sees it from a mile away. His feet are so quick that he can get step in, step out quicker than these guys' hands are thrown. You know what I'm saying? He's that quick. So he's tough. He's a tough cookie to crack. And as I'm watching him offensively, I didn't even get to the offense part of it. But he can literally do whatever he wants. He can adjust. He can fight on the inside and be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I think he likes to fight on the outside and outbox whoever he fights from the outside. But most times, these fighters try to get more aggressive, get on the inside to see if they can catch him there. And he handles himself well on the inside, just as well as he does on the outside. All right. And it's a science. Like, this is a sweet science. Watching him is really the sweet science because he can do so much with his lead hand. I'm talking about head control, distance, like I said, the distance, getting no punches, the angles, using the angles, getting those punches through the guard, through the high guard of his opponents, around the guard, to the body. He knows how to use that lead hand as a distraction to shoot that left hand straight to the body. That's just one of his favorite punches that he throws a lot. He's really well-rounded, well-balanced. He can do it all. He can do it all. Great timing, great hand speed. There's not really many flaws, if any flaws at all. You know, I think anyone can get caught. I haven't seen his chin get really tested. I haven't seen him get hit with too many flush shots to determine whether or not he has a good chin. He is going to be fighting a puncher in this fight. But it's like, how can you really hit him clean? We haven't seen him get hurt. We never seen him get rocked. You know, when we talk about Devin Haney and people say he's chinny just because he got caught with a couple shots a couple times, and people like to go back and say he's chinny. I think most people say that these guys are chinny because they don't get hit much. You know what I'm saying? But it hasn't been proven that, Shakur Stevenson is chinny. Oscar Valdez, orthodox fighter, a lot of power in that left hook. Shorter fighter, much shorter fighter. Reach is shorter. I think he's like about 2 or 3 inches shorter than Shakur, maybe just 2. But, good fighter, again, good counter puncher. All right, knows how to mix it up, can fight on the inside. He's good at that mid-range, not long range, but really good on the mid-range and close range. Again, good hand speed. Moves pretty well. He moves pretty well, solid. Got a good chin. I know he's been rocked, and I know he's been down before, but he has a good chin. I remember him fighting with a broken jaw against Scott Quigg. That was a great fight, by the way. I believe Scott Quigg might have retired after that fight. All right. But good fight, good war back in the day. I mean, he's definitely durable, has a lot of heart. And, again, he beat Miguel Berchelt, a guy that had a lot of power. A lot of people, like myself, thought that Miguel Berchelt was going to be way too much for him. And that was a fight that brought different dangers. It was more because of the power of Berchelt why I thought that it would be too much for Valdez, because at that point, Valdez had become a lot more of a brawler, than he was back in the day when he was fighting guys like a Chris Avalos and stuff. When he was fighting guys like Scott Quigg and Adam Lopez, he was taking a lot of shots. So leading to the Berchelt fight, he boxed so well. You know what I'm saying? And even in the Robinson Caseso fight, even though I thought he was getting outboxed early, he started to really put the pressure on Caseso and started to pick up rounds later. And I expect him to have to do that in this fight. The only thing is, he has a good left hook and he leads with it a lot. I think he needs to make more use of his jab, change levels more. When you're going against Shakur Stevenson, you got to change levels more. All right. Hook off the jab, double up the jab. Just don't come in throwing, left hooks. You want to loop it a little bit too, fake it low, go up high, especially in the exchanges. Shakur Stevenson likes to throw combinations. So maybe you can possibly catch him in between the combinations. Don't just lead with the hook, lead with the hook, jab, jab to get closer, and then throw the hook. Like double jab, hook off the jab, change levels, feint a little bit more. Try to catch them in between the combinations. The thing is with Shakur, when it comes to combinations, it's kind of like an ambush. You don't expect it. He mixes up his punches well, but sometimes he'll go pop shot, pop shot, pop shot for half a round. Then out of nowhere, he'll ambush and hit you with a 3 or 4 punch combinations. Especially if you're guarding up and you're not really throwing much at him. Then he'll start throwing the combinations more, especially if he has you on the back foot and he's coming down. Then he's going to really start opening it up a lot more. You know what I'm saying? When he's getting pressured, he doesn't open up as much. He'll throw 1 or 2 punch combinations. But when he is walking you down, that's when he's starting to tee off a little bit, 4 or 5 punch combinations, all right? But, again, his reflexes so slick, so quick, you might throw something at him, his guard might be down, but then he can get out of the way of them shots very quickly because, again, he sees them coming from a mile away. So that's why I said Oscar Valdez is going to have to do something different than what he did in the Conceição fight. We can see even in that fight, he wasn't able to hit Conceição much early on with really flush shots. All right? Another thing is, too, Valdez, he has to go to the body a little bit more. I think another thing is when he's throwing those hooks, throw it to the body more. Shoot that straight right to the body more. Go to the body as much as you can from the outside still, even from the outside or that mid-range, because you want to open up Shakur's upper half. If you constantly go and then start faking to the body every now and then to go up top, maybe you'll catch him with one shot. The thing is with this fight, and I'm gonna be completely honest, I think Shakur Stevenson wins just about every round. Just about. I know there's going to be a point where Oscars is going to throw more and try to be more, try to put on the pressure, try to corner and trap Shakur. You're going to need more than that, okay? You want to land that big shot that can hurt Shakur. You're going to have to work and try different things in order to catch him slipping with a good shot because, again, the hook he's waiting for. It's going to take more than you. He's not going to just keep throwing a lazy jab. When he throws that jab out there with his lead hand, he's usually waiting for the left hook to be coming right around it. And he usually blocks it. If he doesn't move his head and slip it, he's blocking it with his shoulder, or blocking it with his glove. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be easy just to catch him with the left hook or the straight right. That left guard, that left hand is going to stay up protecting his face. So what do? You got to change levels. You got to feint, feint a little bit more. Throw more to the body. Think that the shot is going to the body because he protects his body as well, very well. He keeps those elbows down there and he's just constantly just moving up and down. Like he could see the punches coming from a mile away again. So you got to do as much as you can to throw him off and make him think that a punch that's coming low is actually going high, or a punch that's going high is actually going low. You got to do more to get him off that guard, all right? But it's going to be very difficult because, again, Shakur's a master at keeping distance. He's going to know. He actually normally, I've never seen him forced into being somewhere he didn't want to be. If his back was on the ropes or in the corner, it's because he wanted it to be, like he wanted to be there. You know what I'm saying? Because he can defend there. He's comfortable with being there. All right? And if he wants to get out, he can step right around you, pivot, and now your back is on the corner, and now Shakur is teeing off on you, hitting you with shots that you don't see coming because your guard is up. All right? He'll hit you to the body. He's looping shots around the guard. Shakur has never been in a position that he didn't want to be in. So Oscar is going to have to find a way to get that big shot in because he's not going to win round by round by round. If you can struggle like that against Conceição is a good boxer, very good boxer. But Shakur is on a different level. And He's well conditioned. You know, his endurance is good, and he's just better. He's better. You know, he knows how to mix the punches up better. All right, has better angles, a better defender, and it's just gonna be a tough one for Oscar Valdez. It's gonna be a long night for Oscar Valdez unless he's able to connect with a big shot. So look, I was trying to figure out how I thought this fight was gonna play out, because there's two ways that I can see going. First, if Oscar wins, he needs to win by knockout, in my opinion. Okay, he needs to catch Shakur with a shot so big that he could hurt him and he could finish him off. All right. But I can see Shakur winning two ways. I can see Shakur winning the majority of the rounds. And when I say, I'm talking about 9 rounds to 3, 10 rounds to 10. I'm talking like 118, 110, around that area of scorecards. Unanimous decision. All right. Or I can see if Shakur wants to press the action like he did against Jamel Herring, I can see him putting the pressure on, opening up more to a point where he's either hurting Valdez, dropping Valdez, and I can see not Valdez getting knocked out, but I can see the fight getting stopped maybe by the corner, a towel being thrown, or by the ref because of the punishment. All right. I can see it happening either way, similar to Jamel Herring. But I can also see the fight where Shakur is dominating, like the Chris Diaz fight, you know, or the Nakatalia fight, where he's winning, but he's not taking any chances because Oscar Valdez is dangerous. You know, so the way I see this fight going, I see Shakur, it depends on what he's going to do. If he wants to take risks, if he wants to really show out and put himself, no doubt of being a pound for pound type of fighter next weekend, he goes for the stoppage. He takes some risk and sit down on some of those punches, all right, and try to punish Oscar Valdez. Or he could take the same route that he did in the Nakatalia fight, the Chris Diaz fight, and just outbox him every single round, but keeps himself out of danger. You know, the thing is, I don't know how he's going to feel, you know, and I think after the first few rounds, maybe after the 4th or 5th round, if he's winning clearly and he's not really taking it into another gear, I can see the fight just being played out where it's like he's just outboxing him smoothly, comfortably, and he's just going to take the decision. You know what I'm saying? Might punish Valdez, but nothing to like stop him. You know, Nakatilia, again, a lot of people complain about that fight because it was kind of boring. Shakur didn't throw much because I think, you know, now that I watched Nakatilia in that fight and watch him in a Burchell fight, Nakatilia's got a good height, good range, good power, and you know, knows, you know, got good timing, you know, good counter puncher, and he moved well. And one thing I noticed in that fight when I watched a little bit of it, he was good with his feet, know how to like keep Shakur in front of him. When Shakur moved a lot, Nakatilia wouldn't follow him in a straight line. He would move sideways every single time, you know, and trap Shakur. Now, even though Shakur can fight that way, it definitely made him more cautious. So Oscar, if he takes that approach where he's staying right in front of Shakur no matter what he's getting hit with and none of it is actually hurting him, then I can see, you know, Shakur taking a more defensive approach through the fight. You know what I'm saying? But we just got to wait and see how it's going to play out. We got to wait and see. But I definitely have Shakur winning this. Whether, you know, I think he's capable of stopping Valdez due to punishment. But I can see him taking a real easy approach and this becoming like a 118, 110 scorecard, you know, maybe 117, 111, or even like a 119 to 109 type of scorecard. I can see it being wide and unanimous for Shakur Stevenson. You know, I don't think it's going to be really debatable. And he is the favorite to win this fight. You know, I know Oscar, you know, I've been going back and forth with a lot of you on Twitter about this fight because I said this months ago. I know a lot of you guys want Oscar to win, and you know, you think that Shakur, you know, with his experience and stuff, I think you're really sleeping on Shakur. Shakur got the right people in this camp to prepare him. I've seen sparring with the Devin Haney sparring, the classic sparring he had with him. I've seen the Ugas sparring he had, you know, and we know that he's part of Terrence Crawford. He's right. That's his like little brother. You know what I'm saying? This guy is fighting and sparring with elite fighters, and he has been for a long time. He sparred with Lomachenko. So even though Oscar Valdez has professionally been in there with the better fighters, Shakur is competing off camera with some of the best fighters in the world. All right. And he fights like a mature fighter, seasoned fighter. He fights like a vet right now. So I got Shakur winning. It depends on how he chooses to take it. If he's going to be safe, it's going to be a clear decision. If he wants to put some pressure on Valdez, and if he could get Valdez on his back foot, I see a stoppage happening. All right. I give Valdez a puncher's chance in this, but as far as boxing, he doesn't stand a chance against Shakur Stevenson as far as boxing ability. Miguel Berchelt, I know a lot of us said that, but there's two different dangers there. Miguel Berchelt, the size and the power was a danger there. You know what I'm saying? Not the boxing ability. It was a size and a power. So if you have for Shakur, because Shakur been hunting, he's been hunting Valdez even at 126. He wanted that fight. Now, if you have for Shakur Stevenson, the dangers there is winning rounds against Shakur. You know, a guy that barely gets hit, a guy that barely loses any rounds. So that's the danger with that. All right, and I got Shakur. So anyway, I'm out, man. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video if you like the content, and share the video if you can, please. Thank you.